Yeah, Wagwan, Shalom, brothers, and Salam Alaikum. So, yeah, I was thinking, right? It didn't take long, yeah, for Dillian White knickers to come out with his excuses. You know, there's always excuses these days, right? When you lose a big fight, people are desperate to get that rematch. You know, they want to get double the money. I mean, you know, there's also the pride thing. You know, people have always made excuses for when they've had a big loss, but there seems to be more these days. I mean, you know, Dillian White, you know, has got a background in this, right? So when he got flatlined by Povetkin, Alex Povetkin, yeah, an old aging Povetkin who hadn't had COVID by then, and he got absolutely flattened with an uppercut. And you know, he's like, no, the referee stopped that fight early, you know, I was up at 8 ready to go. You know, he was, despite the footage, yeah, showing he was flattened and no condition to carry on. But no, with the Fury fight, so he's like, no, I got to have another rematch. You know, it was an illegal shot pushing me on the floor. You know, I hit my head and blah de blah. You know, there's pushes. I mean, there always pushes and shoves in boxing. That's part of the game. It's not strictly illegal. You know, it's not like it's you know, he's talking like Tyson, grabbed hold of his head, you know, and did some WWE move. You know, jumping up and smashing his head on the canvas. You know, and White's argument, oh yeah, I hit me head because of the push, like he wouldn't have gone over anyway. But you know, you can see his head does not hit the canvas anyway. You know, it doesn't. He falls from the shot. I mean, the push is minimal, and it's not really relevant. You're allowed to jostle and push and shove a bit to an extent. I mean, it's up to the ref. If you want to get really, really strict about the rules, then boxing gets stopped every 2 seconds. Oh, you know, everyone will get disqualified. Every fight would end in disqualification. Oh, look, you're grabbing. Oh, you're not doing this. Oh, you're hitting on the back of the. You know, before you know, everyone get disqualified. You have to have some leeway, right? And anyway, it's nonsense excuse. You know, he was out. Flat out. He tried to get up. Like I said, his Mortal Kombat, sitting there swaying in the wind. Yeah, go on, ref. Let it go on. Let's see someone get decapitated in front of 94,000 alleged people, because it didn't look full anyway, you know, in Wembley Stadium. And, you know, I mean, why? It's just a big buck who can't stand losing. I mean, it's a funny thing is, right? So you got, like, you know, his boo-boo, yeah, his wife, Dean White. Probably go back to the pre-wedding surname of Lamar Scott now, because he doesn't want to be linked up with a loser who can't earn the cash, you know, with some bum who can't, you know, pay the bills and who can't defend himself, get KO'd by you know, every white box he faces. So he's like, you know, Lamar's out there partying with the Tyson fans, going, "There's only one Tyson Fury." You know, I mean, it's all a bit suspect. I don't know what's going to happen with that marriage. You know, to be honest, it's null and void anyway, because men can't marry men. You know, that's just a nonsense, really. I mean, they can legally now, allegedly, but you know, not in my faith, not in anyone else's faith. Anyway, so like, you know, you can get rid of this white. It's a bit pathetic. And he says, "Oh yeah, the fight, you know, nothing much had happened, and the fight was even." No, it wasn't, man. You'd lost every single round. You'd hardly landed a shot. You've been hurt a couple of times. Once by a jab, once by a body shot. Yeah, Tyson's jab was in your face, and you were swinging wildly. You were dismantled, man, and outclassed. Yeah, go back. You know, you're lucky you got that payday. Yeah, because every fight you've been stretched, basically. You know, every big fight you've basically been stretched by anyone world class. You know, so. Yeah, you go back to do what you're doing, man. You go back to being a bad man with your bad wife, who's going to dump you soon anyway. You know, everyone's been joking about how he's going to change the name to Dean Fury. That's a bit of an old joke, but you know, yeah, I don't know. I don't think Tyson's into that fruitiness. So that's White, right? And then you look, there seems to be like every time a guy gets battered by Tyson Fury, especially a buck. I should say every time a buck gets battered, yeah, they come out with these really odd, like bizarre excuses trying to explain away what happened, and you know, and it's, you know, it's always not their fault. It's cheated, or you know, Obviously, we got Wilder, who we'll go on to next. I mean, someone counted up to 26 different excuses for losing to Tyson. But we'll get on to him because earlier on, there's a guy called Steve Cunningham, Steve USS Cunningham, right? He was an ex-cruiser champion. Yeah, he moved up to heavyweight. You know, he was still decent size. He was around, I think, 225 pounds. And he famously put Tyson over. You know, Tyson's always a little bit vulnerable in the early rounds. He does get put over a few times. But, you know, we all know Tyson's got great recovery powers and he just gets back up and cracks on. Yeah, but so kind of put him over. But, you know, I think it was the second round. He couldn't do anything. He couldn't finish him. Tyson started to assert himself, yeah, and then up knocking Cunningham out on the ropes with quite a devastating shot. Now, Cunningham started crying quite soon afterwards. You know, it was an illegal forearm he used, and then he lifted up my head, which isn't allowed, and he should have been disqualified. I was the right winner. They always want to be a winner. You know, imagine all these winners being dragged off the canvas after fighting Fury. I mean, it's you know, Fury's got 3 losses, but the winner's on the canvas every time. You know, it's a joke, isn't it? He also blamed racism, obviously. Racism, that Fury didn't get disqualified. Right, there's something called the LDBC, which I don't pay much attention to. The Lions Den Boxing Club. I don't know whether it's a cogent unit. You know, whether they're like a unit of people, or just it generally describes a bunch of you know, black nationalists or whatever you call them, and boxing fans. I mean, and by the way, as I said, I don't care, man. All this, I'm not going to point my finger at them. You're racist, you're bad, all that kind of stuff. All that stuff is done for division, yeah, by the elitists. They want us all to point fingers at each other and hate each other, you know. And people are allowed their opinion. If a black guy wants to only support black fighters, I don't have a problem with that. He can do that, man. So what, man? You know. But you know, it's a bit one-sided, the argument. You get a white guy. If a white guy says, "Who are your favourite fighters?" "Oh, Tyson, Kazagi, Hatton." They go, "Oh, you're a racist." Well, why? "Oh, you got no black fighters there." "Well, I mean, these guys are just my favourites." Why are they your favourites? You must be racist. Otherwise, you'd at least have some black guys. You know, this is how the argument goes. It's pathetic, really. But you know, as I said, you know, everyone can. I don't care, man. You know, if people want to live with their own people and they want to support their own people, I got no problem with that, man. It's kind of normal, some people would say, but that's another elitist trick. So, but yeah, so this Cunningham, so he's a black Israelite. Now, I don't know that much. I've seen some quite good little programs on TV and on YouTube about these guys. They'll dress up they claim they were the original civilization. You know, they'll dress up in all these weird suits. You know, and say they're the original Jews and they're God's people, and they invented, you know, philosophy and geography and science, all this kind of stuff. I mean, you know, they're essentially, you know, delusional, I would suggest. But yeah, so and they can, yeah, they say the superior race. I mean, maybe Joshua should join. Although I don't know if the Black Israelites actually agree with Bati business, so that might be a barrier to a gay becoming a Black Israelite. But So Steve Cunningham is one of these guys. You can see on his Twitter and stuff, and you know, he's saying, like, in the the Lions Den Box Club, you know, and all these shows, it's disgusting. Tyson should be disqualified. The only reason they're not disqualifying him, yeah, is because of racism. Because apparently they're too scared to disqualify Tyson Fury because he's white, which is a bit weird, especially as he's like fighting in America in this fight. And they complained to the New York Athletic Commission. Nothing happened because he's white, allegedly. Yeah, I mean, you know, you're really grasping at excuses here. You know, oh, you can't use an elbow like that. These LDBC dudes have obviously never watched the Mayweather fight, because that's all he does is illegal stuff. Push elbows up, duck below the waist. You know, lean back on the ropes. He loves that. He loves putting his hands in people's faces and pushing them around and putting the elbow in. You know. He should be disqualified every fight as well in LDBC, yeah. And then there was, I think they also said that, because Tyson, this is one fight where actually Tyson looks in decent shape. He usually has that flabby look, as you all know. And so they said, he was, because of steroids, he had roid rage, and it made him act crazily and take out Cunningham, which he wouldn't have done if he wasn't roid raging, something weird like that. I mean, you know, it's just weird. And Cunningham, yeah, he's obsessed. He won't let it go. We'll move on to Wilder in a sec, because obviously that's where the best excuses live. Yeah, but Cunningham also did a long YouTube video backing Deontay Wilder. His excuse story, one of his excuses about a glove. So he said, yeah, look, this is how Tyson cheated. He spent a lot of time trying to show how Tyson hadn't put his hand in properly in the glove, and he curled it up so that he had his fit, if you like, his fingers were not in the glove. Yeah, they were curled up, making a fist within the glove, which enabled him to, I don't know, hurt Wilder more with actually hitting him with open hand shots. I don't know, man. It was, I mean, they go on about this. There's so many theories about what he did with his gloves. When I say they, the haters, and we'll get on to those. But I mean, these things get watched very closely by the other guy's corner, right? And whoever the New York Athletic Commission, whatever the supervisor for whatever commission there's watching at all times. I don't quite know how they manage these amazing shenanigans, especially when they start talking about egg weights being put in the gloves. But so Cunningham's still bitter about his own buck breaking, you could say, in front of his own peeps in New York. Hate that, And then so even getting on Wilder, he's backing Wilder, going to the extent of making videos to show how it was done, and it it's just forgetting that people are watching it all the time. It's been filmed, the gloves and stuff. Anyway, so then we get obviously Wilder. Wilder was obviously the king excuse maker for getting beat by Tyson. I'm starting to think, I don't like to talk about racism. So what is it about these guys, these bucks, that can't take a butt whipping from Tyson? I mean, it's like they boys from the hood. They just can't put up with the fact that a big, English northerner, out of shape northerner, white guy, cleaned their clock, flatlined them, battered them, humiliated them, and they just can't go back to the hood and say, yeah, I got an ass whipping. This guy's a good boxer. Yeah. As you see in my other video with Shakur Stevenson, he's like, man, this guy Tyson is one of the best ever. He doesn't mind. He can admit it. But these big guys, and the Lions Den Boxing Club just don't like it, man. I mean, Yeah, and then so Wilder is a number one excuse maker, yeah. And he was so gutted. He was so embarrassed by getting humiliated by the Pillsbury Doughboy or whatever his girlfriend called Wilder. I'm sorry, called Tyson Fury. That he wouldn't even shake Fury's hand. He wouldn't even be like, okay, well done. After the third time Fury had beat him. Obviously the first was a draw, but I believe that Tyson deserved that. But so yeah, I mean, some people have counted up to 26 different excuses for Deontay Wilder, which is pretty spectacular, man. A couple would be like, quite would be a bit excessive. 3 would be over the top. 26 different excuses, man, from Deontay Wilder about why he lost, and none of them were, Tyson Fury was better than me and beat the crap out of me. Yeah. So one of the first ones. So the water was spiked. So Deontay claims that the water was spiked. So his trainer Mark Breland, who he blames again for something else, had apparently was paid off or whatever. Yeah, had drugged his water so that Wilder was the zombie. Yeah, so he couldn't throw his punches properly. And remember, this is only for fight 2. He didn't make any excuses for fight 3. I think he just knew, I'm finished. I got done again. He just sat in his corner grumpily like a child, refusing to say good fight or hug it out. No. But, in the second one, it was where he had his great excuses. So, of course, there was no, why didn't you get this water tested? Have a look at that. Well, because obviously it didn't happen anyway. There's no one drugged his drink. Yeah. The most famous one is his outfit. So he's got allegedly a 45-pound outfit. Now, he's a big man. He can carry 45 pounds for about 5 minutes to the ring, And he'd been bragging on how he trains with 45-pound outfits. He can run for 2 hours with it, but now he can't do it for 5 minutes. It sucks all the strength away from his legs. And you know what? He would have tried that on before. I'm pretty sure he'd be like, oh, yeah, you know what? This might damage my ability to fight, and it clearly didn't. So he had this little, and we don't even know it weighed 45 pounds. And I bet he didn't either. He just guessed it. Yeah. And of course, I want it to be my tribute to be great for Black History Month. So I wanted it to look good, so I had to wear it. Now he's blaming Black History Month as well. He goes back to Mark Breland. Mark Breland's a respected guy in boxing, yeah. And so he's already blamed Breland for allegedly drugging his water because he was the only one near it, apparently. And now he says that Breland threw in a towel, yeah, too early and on purpose. You know, like he got paid off to throw in a towel. You know, Breland was saving his ass. I mean, Wilder was getting an ass whipping in the corner. He was pretty gone. He would have ended up like the third fight, which has been ironed out. Yeah, if it hadn't been for Breland. You know, Breland's a respected, nice guy. He's been boxing all his life. I mean, it's no good, man. It's a weak excuse. He'll use the same one. A bunch of excuses about Fury cheating, right? He'll say that there's there was egg whites put in the glove. Egg weights, I should say. Sorry, not egg whites. Yeah. So apparently, during whilst all these guys were watching, including his corner, well, Breland, obviously, I don't know who was in there watching. I don't think it was Breland. It was someone else from his camp. They slipped in some big egg weights into the glove, so that it gave. Well, obviously, when Tyson was hitting him, he was hitting him with an egg weight on the side of the head, which put him a dent in the head, apparently. Yeah. And Hatton was putting on his glove in improper fashion as well. Yeah. And then he also claims that the gloves had no padding, so they had an egg weight in it. The hand was in it correctly, and it had no padding. I mean, this is like assault with a deadly weapon. They didn't check that after the fight, did they? You thought like while ago. You remember there's that famous fight? I think it's a Luis Resto, and he beats up some guy called, I forget his name, some white kid, Billy Collins, yeah, and he battered him so badly, yeah, that the guy had to retire because they pulled out all the stuff out of his glove. And they grabbed the gloves and they checked it and they saw that all the padding. Why didn't they do that? Especially I would immediately, you can feel when it's something different. You'd be like, listen, man, let's go and check his gloves. Of course, none of this happened. I mean, it's just nonsense. He's just desperately looking for some kind of excuse. The referee, another one he blamed. He blamed the referee. Yeah. Oh, he was on Fury's side, and so all he did was he was always letting Fury get away with illegal punches, rabbit punches, hitting off the break. He would have disqualified me if I'd done that. That old bull crap. It's just weak, man. It's just weak. He had other stuff as well, right? He said he'd had bicep surgery and he couldn't throw the punch properly. He's had a bad camp. Yeah. He made some weird comment about having an autopsy on his brother's head, which had a dent, which proves that therefore, what's his name? Tyson had hit him not with a fist, with a bit of metal, because if he had a dent in his head, I don't know what that's about, man. I don't know what that's about. The fight was stopped too early. Yeah, right. Oh yeah, he. He said, Andre Dirrell, I think was under Bob Arum, was in Tyson's, I don't know, promotional camp or something, yeah? He said Andre Dirrell was standing at the referee and urging him to stop the fight. So Andre Dirrell also helped rob poor Deontay, yeah? Some other ones he had. He said Fury was covered in oil, which is not allowed to, which made him, he couldn't, his punches were sliding off him or something like that. And as well, he did the old voodoo, yeah, the gypsy voodoo. He was cursed by juju, gypsy juju, and that's why he lost. I think he also threw in a PD accusation and a bunch of other stuff as well. I mean, in some ways it's funny because, it's just so over the top and so ridiculous. Yeah, if any of these things had been a little bit substantiated by some proof. But of course, none of them were. They could give some credence to him. Then he just looks like a crybaby. And then acting like a crybaby when he gets an ass whipping on the third fight. And although, like I said, obviously he put Tyson over. He's in there. But, and he refuses to shake hands like a little baby boy. I mean, what these great bucks, man, they just can't handle being butt whipped by especially Tyson Fury. I mean, they don't want no white heavyweight to beat them, but... And for years, the premier heavyweights were black Americans, but it's different now, man. You know, and well, these bucks have got to learn to take their whippings. You know, and I think they especially don't like Tyson because A, he's unbeaten. Yeah, B, he's fat. He's just podgy. He just looks like an unathletic fat guy, and they hate the idea that with their muscles bulging out, that they can't bust up Tyson. They get broken. They get put on a buck breaking machine, yeah, for hours by Tyson Fury, and he makes sure they're utterly broken, so they'll never come back again. And I don't believe, you know, Tyson said, White can be heavyweight champion. No, he can't, man. He's not that good. He's been broken several times now. He's finished. Wilder, with his shot, he can always come back to something. I don't know. You know, there's always some chance. I don't know what. You know, I don't know what. If he probably wants to, you know, be pregnant and give birth and twerk and become a woman and whatnot. You know, Deontay Maloney or something, and then Beyonce Maloney. And then the other one, Cunningham, I don't know, he disappeared and warbles his rubbish about, you know, being from the real people, the superior peoples, and you know, these guys have been properly butt broken. And this is what you see is the terrible consequence of being butt broken, you know, by Tyson Fury. These guys are never mentally okay again, never again. Yeah, and they can't proudly swan around like a peacock in the herd, knowing because everyone know they've been butt broken. They've been butt broken by the massa, Tyson Fury.